Welcome to the Life as a Connected Family presentation. My name is Dr. Jason Kang. I am the Upper School Electronic Systems and Information Specialist, and I am also a teacher in the upper school.
Hi, my name is Tim Mulligan. I'm part of the personal and academic counseling team at the upper school at TAS, currently working with grade 11 students, the class of 2026.
Hi, I'm Shanali Hutchison. I'm one of the college counselors here at TAS.
For this presentation, we are going to talk about how to discuss, share, and grow your digital lives together as a family. First, I will go over the upper school parent presentation agenda. Myself, I will be talking about an update on the social media and technology influence. Dr. Tim Mulligan will be talking to you about the boundaries, guidelines, and communication from a personal and academic counseling perspective. And lastly, we'll have Mrs. Sonali Hutchinson talk to you about the virtual engagement with colleges and how social media may be considered in the admissions process. First, I would like to present a humorous and informative slide about social media being explained with the use of dogs. Social media explained. You can see from this slide how there are so many different ways to use social media platforms, including Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So all of these platforms have many of their own languages, terminologies for presenting your life on the web. So I'm just making you aware of how you and your kids can be sharing information online through the different ways of how social media promotes their languages. For example, for Facebook, like if you think my dog is cute. For Twitter, playing, hashtag fetch with Scruffy, hashtag best dog ever. So these are some of the unique terminologies and languages that social media can catch you in promoting their use. In this slide, I'm showing how Facebook as a social media platform has the most reach and TikTok holds the most cultural power. So this is updated information I have found online through the Global Web Index with some unique and interesting charts that you can see on the slide. And if you see the chart on the right, it includes the reasons for using social media. So first being keeping in touch with friends and family, close to 60% there. Also filling spare time, finding content online. In this slide, I'm just showing you why people tend to use social media in their daily life. I thought this slide was interesting in terms of comparing social media usage by age. So you can see on the left chart, influencer recommendations, how it influences the different generations from baby boomers through Generation X and millennials, all the way through Generation Z. So you can see how recommendations are being done through influencers and traditional advertisements. On the right chart, you can see consumption patterns by age and region, which I thought was also extremely interesting, showing how much time is spent average per day on social media in hours and minutes. So you can see Asia Pacific, Europe, Latin America, Middle East, and Africa and North America. And it's interesting how as the generations grow, from baby boomers all the way to Generation Z, younger folks are using social media much more. So if you see in the Asia Pacific, for example, baby boomers from an hour and 34 minutes per day, all the way up to 2 hours and 32 minutes for Generation Z. So just something for you to be aware of in terms of the statistics of social media usage average per day. Now I'm going to bring social media back here, particularly to the Taiwan environment. So the top Taiwan social media platform still remains to be Facebook at a whopping 51.18%, being almost triple or more than triple of that of Twitter. So you can see in the graph at the bottom left how Facebook is still the dominating social media platform in the Taiwan region. Now I want to talk more about why and how users are being influenced, not just to use social media, but also to play, for example, mobile games or to use their mobile devices regularly. So one big influence in the market still remains to be media influence. And you can see these on commercials on TV or commercials that you see when you're watching YouTube videos. So there are different ways that media can catch you to using their products, not just social media. We are looking at this slide with a range, of course, of celebrities that are being used, from actors to famous basketball players to game show hosts. There are a range of ways that companies can grab you to play their games or use their applications. Another huge influence is peers and the public influence, right? So nowadays we're seeing a lot of students in TES playing things like Brawl Stars, even going out and about around Taipei or Taiwan, seeing people playing Pokemon Go wherever they go, even in the MRT or in buses. So these are a huge influence to your kids, not just you as parents modeling the use of your mobile device at home or when you go out. I'm not sure if you play games or if you are using social media on your own, but that being a big influence, modeling the use of your phone to your kids. For example, on this slide at the bottom left, you can see a group of young adults at the dinner table. They're all using their phones and not connecting with each other without their phones. This slide being more about showing how mobile phones are being used and continuing to influence others to use it even more.
Okay, now we're going to talk about boundaries, guidelines, communication, in terms of how families discuss and address technology use. A little bit about parenting style. Research shows that the most effective form of parenting is authoritative parenting. This is where you are warm, firm, and supportive. It could be contrasted with authoritarian parenting, which is a very strict form of parenting, or at the opposite end of the spectrum, permissive or even uninvolved parenting. We want to avoid those extremes. So think about your own use of technology. Believe it or not, your adolescents do still learn from you. I know they take a lot of influence from their peers and media and elsewhere. You are still a very strong influence in their lives, and they learn more from what you do than what you say sometimes. So think about your own digital media and digital use. How are you modeling responsible behavior? How are you modeling what you hope to see in your students as they grow and develop? How do you use technology as a family? Do you feel distracted by technology? If so, in what ways? Do you think your teen uses their device so much that they might even be addicted to the device? And if so, what do you do about it? Setting boundaries around technology use is important. So encouraging students to take breaks when doing homework. This is something we as counselors talk about often. Taking breaks is important. Of course, ending breaks and getting back to work is also important. And that can be a struggle sometimes. So setting a timer is one way to do that for the student to remind themselves when their break is over and also when their next break starts. I know some families will even go to the length of turning off their router at home after a certain time to limit internet usage. You can turn off notifications on your phone, of course, to prevent both distractions during work and also potentially unwanted sleep disturbances. Two ways you can monitor usage depending on the device type. Apple has the screen time feature Google has a family link feature. So look into those depending on the type of device you use. So speaking of sleep, one strategy to minimize distractions from technology is to not have a phone in your bedroom at all at bedtime. I know many people like to use the alarm feature on their phone for their alarm clock. You can still buy alarm clocks. You can get a different device that you can use to wake you up while keeping your phone in another room to minimize distractions at night. You can also have the laptop in another room. You can try to encourage work on a computer in a central location. This is one thing I talk to students about, and the idea of having your workspace separate from your sleep space that helps psychologically for your brain to know when it's work time and when it's sleep time and to keep those things separate. You as a parent can model healthy sleep habits. I often get emails from parents at 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. And when that happens, I think this whole family might not be getting good sleep because parents do model sleep habits for their kids. Try to minimize screen time before bed. You turn on night mode on your phone or computer to reduce the blue light if you do need to use it close to bedtime. That's important for your brain to start going into night mode to sleep mode. As a family, you can talk about how to use technology together. You can follow the same accounts on social media, talk about the things you're following on social media. You can play games together. If you as a parent are into gaming and there's a game that you and your kids both enjoy, do it together. I mentioned this earlier, but do what you say. Your kids will notice what you do more than what you say. And if what you do and what you say contradict each other, they will notice that as well. You can model delayed response to a text or social media post. In other words, if your phone gives you that bing or that vibrate notification, you don't have to dive for it to see what's going on. You can wait a minute, wrap up what you're doing in the real world before you check for that. That's a good thing to model for your kids. And just modeling responsible technology use at the dinner table while driving, right? That's a big safety issue, bedtime, etc. Communicate. There's a term screenager from a recent documentary that's out there if you want to look for it about teens, adolescents who overuse technology. So how do you spot a screenager? Do you find that you or your students are spending more time online than expected? Do they ignore and avoid other work or activities to spend more time on screen? Often check messages or emails before doing something else they need to do, even delaying important things like meals or sleep again, right? Some resources that are out there. Common Sense Media is a great website with a lot of stuff for families and a lot of stuff specific to teens and technology as well. So I recommend checking this website out. One of the things it includes is a family media agreement. So for families to actually put into writing what they plan to do as far as their approach to social media use, to technology use. Childmind is another website with information about children's mental health that I recommend. And these are just three of the many books that are out there, including several that we have available to check out from our library in the Upper School Personal and Academic Counseling Office. Lots of books about parenting, about adolescents, about teenagers, if you're interested in learning more.
I wanted to offer a little bit about the college counseling perspective on this topic. It is a very relevant and important topic, and we're glad to be able to weigh in a bit on it. As you know, and as has been discussed throughout the presentation, technology is changing rapidly, and how we interact and engage with technology is rapidly changing. And that affects students and how they use it, how they learn from the internet and other online resources that are available to them, and how they interact with other people throughout these different resources as well. We try to find ways to work with our students throughout the school day in terms of how they're using technology through research, whether they're looking at different universities, whether they're looking at ideas of how to write their college application essays as well too. And we're always talking to them from the college counseling side about really carefully considering the sources that they're looking at and making sure that the sources that they're looking at have proper credentials as well, so that they are being critical evaluators of what is there. We're reminding them that when they're finding new information on the internet about colleges that they're interested in, to not just look at one source, to look at multiple sources, but to always go back to the original source. Look at the university websites to find the actual facts and not necessarily opinions that are popping up on social media. So really, we are just encouraging students to find ways to both take advantage, but be careful about how they are using technology and the different resources. We have a lot of information on this slide, so you can always follow up if you have specific questions, but we will leave it to you to look at this information on your own. But a few reminders, social media is not private. So as a parent, when you're having conversations with your child about how they're using social media, as has been discussed, just remind them it really isn't private. Even if they delete something, it can come back to them. Somebody else that they know could have taken a photo of it and saved it somewhere. We all leave some sort of digital footprint, and colleges can sometimes see that information, and maybe it can appear later on when they are applying to different schools. Now, colleges aren't proactively, looking at student applicants and digging into their social media necessarily, but sometimes things can come up. And as students are looking for universities that fit them, colleges are also looking to ensure that students fit in with their values within their community as well too. So definitely have those conversations with your child. Remind them to check their privacy settings so that they know who is seeing the information that they share, but also remind them again that nothing is ever truly private on the internet. And they do need to be careful with that and really think about what information about themselves that they're putting out there, and how sometimes information that might seem fairly innocent, like maybe photos at a particular party or a concert that they went to, could be interpreted differently by someone else from a more admissions setting as well. That said, we don't want kids to not use technology. We want students and parents, and as counselors, we also use technology and to find different ways to virtually engage. One benefit, and there really is a benefit to this post-COVID world, is that there's so much more information available in the research process for colleges and universities around the world for students to draw from as well. We know that every student can't go to the campus or fly abroad to visit the schools that they're interested in. So we really encourage students from the college counseling side to take advantage of virtual online tours that are available, that are set up by the universities themselves. Many of these have been set up after COVID because they know that with travel restrictions, students weren't able to visit their schools. And then they realized that they were getting a lot of hits and students were really making use of the resources that they put forth. So there are webinars, sometimes they're live webinars where students can actually have a live Q&A with an admissions officer or talk to students that are actually there on campus to learn more about student life and the experience at a particular college. It's a way for students to practice their presence on Zoom overall. They may have opportunities even later to have Zoom or online interviews with admissions representatives or professors or alumni. And so being able to learn how to present themselves online is very important, when they are live, as well as what they post on different social media forums that they might be on as well. But do encourage them to positively take advantage of the great online resources, especially through the colleges and universities themselves that are there for them. So this is just a way to get them ready to launch into the real world as well. Again, to go to the university websites themselves and look for the factual information that's there. One last note for this particular slide is the idea of after they've left you and they've moved on to their new university home, wherever they are, setting reasonable expectations for how you communicate with them, whether it's using social media or online resources or technology. Realize that as much as your student wants to talk to you and how you've seen them every day when they are at school, you may not be able to talk to them every day. They will be busy. They will have many things going on in their new schedules, and they may not be able to carve out that time to talk to you every day. It's okay. but I think before they leave for college, set up sort of at least a weekly expectation. It could be a weekly check-in, maybe a quick Zoom call or FaceTime call or however you're communicating with them, where they show you a part of their campus community and where they are, where they just update you on what's going on. It's important to have that conversation though, because they might not necessarily think of, oh, I need to like set in that time to call my parent. And we know you're going to miss them. So it's okay to have that expectation, have that conversation with them and set something up before they go. Because once they get to college, they will be busy, they will forget, they'll be having so many new interactions that are happening all at the same time. But it might be nice for them to know that there's something on their weekly schedule where they can check in with you. A few other discussion points for your child, and this is really following up with what we talked about in terms of their online presence and the digital footprint that they leave. Much of this is self-explanatory, but again, have that conversation. And this is a conversation you will be having now. You could be having years from now when they're already in college as well. Have them really consider what they're posting on the internet with whatever social media or other forums that are out there that are not as anonymous as they might hope for it to be. These could be a few questions to go through with them. Would they want someone that they respect, a teacher, a family member, a role model, to see what they are posting? If there's any doubt, they should leave it out because it could come back to them in some way and maybe cause them some sort of harm. And when we say harm, it could generally social emotional harm. There could be consequences to a post where they might say something that maybe blurs the line of an area that could be, misrepresenting a particular idea or be considered some sort of harassment. We don't know necessarily how somebody taking in the information they post, will react. So it's really important for them to be conscious of what they are sharing verbally, by photos, by images, anything that they're posting on the internet as well too, and really take the time to think about it before they post. Now, in the moment, they might not be thinking about that. So that's why it's important to have these conversations now when they are a high school student so that they have those opportunities to really go into any of their endeavors, whether it's for a class, whether it's personal interaction with their friends online, and really think about what they are sharing with the world. Because the truth is they are sharing it with the world. And again, as we've noted, even if they try to delete something that they've shared, it could still come back to haunt them. And we don't want that to happen. We don't want them to have those worries just in their brain at all. So it's important to just have those conversations, things to think about before posting. This also applies to you as a parent. Think about what you are posting, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute, but you are also sharing information. You are also reviewing different online forum potentially. So you need to be careful. And it sounds a little bossy, and I apologize for this, but as a parent myself, sometimes this is something that I think about, what am I posting that's out there? Some of these forums are, as I've noted, are not completely anonymous. And so you might be posting on a parent Facebook page where there is some interesting information that's there. You might have a very firm opinion about it, but just know that on some of the forums that you could be in, there could be an admissions officer there. And while they may not remember your name in particular, you never know what sort of specific information you share could sort of get back to a particular college or to other parents as well within your community. So just as you'll talk about with your child, think about what you are posting yourself. Which brings me to really thinking about how you as a parent are also using social media and how it sort of fits into the college admissions world as well. Revisiting, just be aware of your own online presence. Think about what you're sharing and not oversharing, because there are times where the forum is not particularly anonymous and your name may come up. I've noticed this in the last year looking at different forum where I'll see parents on a forum saying, well, my child is applying to this school and they have this GPA and they're worried about this. And it's a lot of information that's being shared there, and that's being tied back to an actual parent's name. So you really want to think about, do you want to share all that information about your own child on a particular website, which again, could be there for a very long time, if not forever, on the internet, which never forgets. So please take some time to think about what you are sharing on these different public sites and forums as well, too. And then I really wanted to end with this big point, just to share that there is a wealth of wonderful information on the internet for students and for parents as they're navigating this college admissions journey. It's a treasure chest of information that's out there, but it's also a dangerous minefield filled with misinformation and misleading opinions as well. And sometimes that is hard to navigate. And we don't want you to worry about whether some information that you find on the internet is something that will cloud your child's college application journey. So if you see information that you're not sure about, feel free to reach out to the college counseling department and definitely cross-check with the university website as well too for more accurate information in terms of what is expected in the admissions process or specific admissions trends that might be happening for that university. Just one parent sharing that information on a social media post, say on Facebook or on Reddit, does not mean that it's true. It might have been true for their child. It may not necessarily affect your child at all. So please look at all the information that you find on these different social media sites, with scrutiny and realize that it may not necessarily be accurate. Engage with care. I think that's the most important message we can get across both for you and, what we encourage you to talk about with your kids. Engage with care when you're using social media and different internet sites as well too. I'll often have students come in saying, well, I saw this on Reddit. And oftentimes it's a myth and I can debunk that myth. Absolutely. But they might have already read it and thought about it and worried about it and shared that with you. And you might be worried about that as well. So again, please reach out if you have any questions to us, but do check with the university websites directly for the most accurate information. I also would like to caution you to be careful of external counselor websites as well. Because again, sometimes there is helpful information, but there are a lot of external college counselors out there. And at the end of the day, they are trying to promote their product, to promote their particular services. And they may also be sharing opinions, but not necessarily fact. So again, through the university and through our own counseling department, we can give you neutral information that is unbiased as well. But it's just important to carefully think about the information you're seeing online and realize that it may not be the most accurate information there. So once again, when you're using technology, when you're talking about technology with your children and how they will both take advantage of it, but be careful of how they're using it, going back to the idea of engaging with care. And that's an important sort of lesson that can guide them both during high school and as they move into college as well. On a final note, we are very happy that you were able to join this session. We hope that there was some information here that will lead to some interesting conversations with you and your child. And, keep having those conversations. They may not want to talk to you about this every day. So maybe set a time, every week to just have a sit down about how is school, how is life, what are things that you're hearing, what are things that you're worried about. Those could be opportunities for you to bring up little bits of the information that we've talked about today as well. But we are so pleased that you were able to join us. So you have our names here, and we have our different departments within IT, our personal and academic counseling office, and the college counseling office as well too. So these emails will be here. If we're not able to answer follow-up questions for you, still reach out and we will try to find someone who can address a question you might have, because we are here to support you and we are grateful that you could be here today with us. Thank you.